God, I wish to let him in.
Yo, what is going on? It's your boy, Westside Izzy Peasy in the building. Your boy, Izzy Fanteasy, also known from the show About Nothing that you see with the boy June's 88 here on YouTube. Yo, it's been a minute. I haven't done a YouTube video in a long time by myself. So I just wanted to drop in real quick and just do a little something. Because, you know, tomorrow is the big game. Tomorrow is Super Bowl Sunday. We got the Kansas City Chiefs versus the San Francisco 49ers. And we could go into a whole diatribe. We could go into a whole big thing of, like, how we got here. Who's got the better momentum going in. But we're going to discuss this a little bit. I'll give you my take on both teams and who I feel is going to win. And then from there, we're just going to set the tone as to, like, how, you know, things are going to go moving forward. If we're going to see a little bit more of my face, or if I decide to just, you know, entice y'all with the smooth, buttery sounds of my voice going forward, if you catch my drift. Wink, wink. Anywho, we got to talk about it. It's Super Bowl Sunday tomorrow. We got the Kansas City Chiefs. This is their 5th time in the Super Bowl, looking for number 3. And then you got the San Francisco 49ers looking for the illustrious 6th ring, that 6th championship title that will put them, I believe this will put them in the same place as the Pittsburgh Steelers, because the Steelers got 6 titles as well. So this is a very interesting matchup. And for all you conspiracy nerds out there, for people that are like looking for the tinfoil hat moment, this is the exact matchup that happened back in 2020, right before the Panini season happened. And I don't know how things are these days, if you could talk about it, but this is basically the matchup that happened like a month before COVID hit. And there's a lot of chatter about that, but I'm not going to discuss it because I don't want YouTube looking at this video and being like, oh, you said a naughty word, and they take it down right as it, you know, gets put up on the air for everybody to see. I don't want that to happen, so we're just going to leave it at that. But this game is very interesting, to say the least. I mean, you got two teams pretty much on the opposite side of what a lot of people thought they would be going into the season. Everybody looked at the Kansas City Chiefs. They had just won the Super Bowl last year, and they thought this was going to be a team that was going to, you know, parade themselves all the way into another Super Bowl matchup. The thing is, though, by week 10 or 11, everybody was looking at the Chiefs as if, like, they weren't even going to be able to make a playoff run at all. If that, they were going to get bounced out in, you know, the first game that they played with in the playoffs. Well, maybe the second game, because the first game they played was against the Dolphins, and we know how that shook out. But what I'm saying is, when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, this is a team that offensively has struggled the entire year. They led the league in false starts. They led the league in offensive holding penalties. They've led the league in drops. Patrick Mahomes has thrown the most interceptions that he has thrown in his career this season alone. It just looked like the Kansas City Chiefs, they weren't clicking on all cylinders, but yet they're here in the Super Bowl. You know, they were going to be playing in Buffalo. That's right, you heard me. They were playing in Buffalo in the playoffs. This was the first year that they would be playing on the road against teams in the playoffs. They went to Buffalo, a team that they were underdogs against. They took care of Buffalo easily. They took care of Buffalo in Buffalo. They took care of Josh Allen. They were able to get away with a win. Then they go to Baltimore, who was the #1 seed, who took care of the AFC as a whole. Best record in the AFC, and I believe the best record in the league, per se. And this was the #1 rated defense versus the #2 rated defense. The Ravens had a leg up on the Chiefs. They had the best running game, so everybody thought this was going to be a quick ground and pound type game. Let Lamar Jackson work off of that, get the receivers opened up, and then just take it from there. But that wasn't what happened. They forced Lamar to play their game. It was a close game. It was a tight game, but they were able to contain Lamar. They were able to contain the run game. They were able to they possessed the ball more than Baltimore did, and they were able to get a win in Baltimore, and now they're here and they're here in the Super Bowl. San Francisco, on the other hand, this is a team that you look at, and they are just dominant on all fronts. Like, they took care of the NFC West perfectly. They took care of the NFC West again. They have the #1 seed in the NFC as a whole, thanks in part to the Philadelphia Eagles and Dallas Cowboys kind of collapsing at the same time. But the Eagles' collapse was way worse. So we could talk about that as a whole. I mean, they start the season 10-1, and then they just lose the last 5 of their last 6 in the season. And then they limp into the playoffs. They play Tampa Bay in Tampa, and Tampa just dog walks them 32-9. And you look at the Eagles and you're wondering what happened. You watch this team the last 2 months of the season, and you see them just being stagnant, not really being cohesive on the offensive side of the ball. They're struggling on defense. They're not tackling as soon as they're touching the other guys. This was a complete mess. The Eagles were a complete mess going into the playoffs, but it was just shocking to see that a team that started 10-1, started off hot, started off dominant, just ends up falling off the cliff in that sort of fashion. I think I heard Nick Wright compare it to the 2008 New York Giants when they actually won the Super Bowl the previous year. They go, I think it was like 11-1. They were like 11-1, and they end up like losing in the first game of the playoffs. They end up like losing the last 4 or 5 games of the season. Then they lose their first game in the playoffs. Just an utter collapse. The Cowboys played great. They were able to get into the playoffs. They were the #2 seed. Could have had the #1 seed, but they ended up losing their last game. And they're undefeated at home, 16-0 at home. Green Bay comes in, a young upstart Green Bay team, 9-8, just get into the playoffs, and they dominate the Cowboys. I mean, by halftime alone, it was about 28-0, or it was 28-0 going into halftime. Green Bay was up that bad. Like the Cowboys, they forgot how to play football for a full half. They did make some noise in the second half. They did, get some points back. If you look at the stats and you look at the numbers, you're thinking it was a close game overall, but Green Bay just pretty much took control of that game from the very start, and it was just an ugly game. And you're looking at the Niners, who, even though they did struggle a little bit in the playoffs, even though they did have to play from behind in a couple of games, they played from behind versus the Packers in the divisional game. They played from behind versus the Lions. That's right, the Detroit Lions made it all the way to the NFC Championship game, and they had a 28-7 lead on the 49ers. And you all thought, and I was watching the game, and I thought that the Lions were going to just cakewalk and dog walk the Niners. But the Niners, they found a way to come back and win that game. And it was just refreshing to see the 49ers break so many different stereotypes and so many talking points of like how they couldn't play from behind, and how they, were 0-28 when they're down 14 plus, and Brock Purdy can't lead a team from behind. He can't, play with a big lead. He's a game manager. He's not a game changer. Everybody around him, elevates him, and he don't elevate anybody else. I mean, can we talk about Brock Purdy for a second? Can we talk about this kid? This man was first in pretty much every single statistic as a quarterback. I'm talking about when pressured, versus blitz versus non-blitz, on third down, first down conversion, red zone percentage. He has, I believe, the highest QBR combined from last season and this season. He's, I think, 17-3 in the playoffs from this season. Like total wins, playoffs included, he's 17-3 from last season and this season combined. He's 20-1 when Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel are on the field at the same time. Highest percentage of points that are produced. Brock Purdy has shown that he can play ball at a high level, especially with a team like this. And I'm talking with a buddy of mine. I'm talking with June, and he basically tells me, if the 49ers play, they played versus Detroit last, a week ago or so in the NFC Championship game, then the Chiefs are going to pretty much run all over them, because all the Chiefs need is a little bit of a lead, and momentum on the side, and they could take care of the rest of the game as well and force San Francisco to play their game. Now, I look at this game in two ways. You have a team that is peaking at the right time with the Kansas City Chiefs offensively. Everybody's catching the ball. Everybody's pretty much playing their part, doing what they're supposed to do. You're looking at a team in San Francisco who has a very, very well-rounded defense. I mean, you look at their front seven all the way through. I mean, they added Chase Young halfway into the season to pair alongside with Nick Bosa. And then you got Hargrave, Greenlaw, you got Warner, you got Travarius Ward in the back end. That entire defense as a whole is just star-studded. They're very talented. They're quick, from sideline to sideline. They swarm wherever the ball is at. This is a team that's very focused. They want this game. Like I told you earlier, this was a team that played in the Super Bowl versus the Chiefs in 2020. They lost a very close one. They've been looking forward to this one. This is a game I believe a lot of guys have circled on the calendar if they were to ever get to this point, and they have the opportunity to do it. And this isn't the same team that played that Chiefs back in 2020. I mean, they've added a few pieces, not only on the defensive side of the ball, but also on the offensive side of the ball. You still got Deebo Samuel. You still got Rashawn Jennings. You still got Brandon Ayuk. You got Brock Purdy as quarterback, but you also got Christian McCaffrey, the Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, this man right here, about like 2,000 yards from scrimmage, most touchdowns as a running back. This man right here pretty much was all around one of the biggest names and one of the biggest proponents as to why this offense was so productive and so dangerous to play against as a 49er. I mean, when Carolina traded him away last season and he went to San Francisco, it was like his career got restarted all over again. He basically just fell into place with Kyle Shanahan's offense, and he did not miss a beat. He came in and pretty much not only improved that offense, but he basically became that offense. And everything around him just like elevated, along with Brock Purdy elevating from his point. And it's like, you look at the 49ers as a whole, and you're wondering, like, is there any weakness? Is there any flaw that the Chiefs can take away and pretty much exploit and really go after and force the 49ers into making these type of mistakes to play the Chiefs type of game? And I believe, Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, he's going to hone in on McCaffrey. He's going to hone in on trying to limit the run. But the thing is, with the Chiefs, I believe they're like bottom of the barrel or close to it when it comes to runs, to their run defense, like 28th in run defense. They're like 31st in zone run defense. And when it comes to the running game in San Francisco, they're like top 5. I believe they're like 2nd or 3rd in the league. So if Spagnuolo is going to want to stop the 49ers, he's going to have to contain Christian McCaffrey. He's going to have to disrupt that running game early. And that was something that Detroit was able to do when they played in the NFC Championship game. They were able to get in the backfield. They were able to disrupt Christian McCaffrey, disrupt those throwing lanes for Brock Purdy. They were able to like get in the backfield and rattle him a little bit. But the thing is, though, San Francisco was able to adjust. They were able to get the momentum on their side. They were able to get the key stops that they needed. They were able to get that key turnover. They were able to force that fumble off Jahmyr Gibbs. And, I mean, it was like watching chess and checkers being played out in that NFC Championship game. And it's going to be pretty much the same exact thing when you're watching the Chiefs and the 49ers round 2 here in Las Vegas. I've seen a lot of people looking at this game, and they're calling it either one of two ways. It's either going to be a very close game, and the Chiefs are going to come out on top, even though the 49ers are favored by 2.5. Other people are saying this could be a blowout. This may not be a close game. I think Nick Wright, he said this. It was like the Chiefs, they kind of like, they played the 2 toughest teams that they had to play in the playoffs, and now they're getting a bit of a breather with Brock Purdy. I wouldn't say that. I don't think this is a breather for the Chiefs. I don't think this is a game that you're going to look at defensively on the Chiefs side and be like, oh yeah, you're not going to look at Brock Purdy. You're not going to look at Ayuk and Samuel and Jennings and McCaffrey and Kittle and think like they have it easy. This is going to be a game where like they're going to have to be on their P's and Q's, because the thing about the 49ers, they could score points in bunches. It's the same thing with the Chiefs. They could score points in bunches when guys are getting the ball and they're catching it and they're pretty much playing up to speed and they're playing their game. This could go either one of two ways. This could be a shootout, first team to 30 wins, or this is gonna be a defensive battle, low scoring. It could be a game where, you know, the team that makes the most critical mistake loses the game in that moment. I'm looking at this game like this. Like, this is I really think San Francisco could pull this one off. I think they have the team to do it. I think this is their time to do it. But you don't want to count out the Chiefs. You don't want to count out Patrick Mahomes. You don't want to count out Travis Kelce. You don't want to count out that defense. They can flip momentum in a dime, and they can make it hard on a team to play on a big level. You know, they've been in this position. They've been on this stage multiple times. Again, like I said, this is their 5th time, and they're looking for their 3rd championship in their 5th attempt. So it's like they're looking to create them. They're looking to fashion themselves as a dynasty in the league. And I believe they have all the weapons. They have all the ability to do it. This is going to be one of those games where, like, it's going to come down to, you know, who plays the game cleanest and who doesn't make the critical mistake. And if any one of them gets hot early, I believe it could be a runaway game for that team. But then again, though, like, we've seen teams get hot early and go on runaway streaks, like the Atlanta Falcons, the 28-3 debacle. We all saw how that played out. They went up 28-3 going into the half versus Tom Brady, and the New England Patriots were able to adjust, come back, and they were able to win in overtime. So when it's Super Bowl time, the lights are brighter, the stage is set, the pressure's on. It's all about who can handle the pressure and who could make those plays happen and who can avoid making those critical mistakes. If you're looking for a prediction, if you're looking for a score prediction on my side, I'm going to go, I think the 49ers win a close one. I think it's going to go 24-21. Or if it's a shootout, 24-21 if it's close. Shootout-wise, I'm going to go possibly 30s. It can go into 30s. Possibly 33-30, kind of like what we saw last year. But I won't be surprised if the Chiefs pull it off in the end. It's going to be a close one. Let me know what you think this final score is going to be down below. And, yeah, let's have some fun. It's the last football game of the season until September, until August. Well, August, September, training camp, preseason, all that fun stuff. The preseason is coming, the offseason is coming up right after March 13th. Free agency happens. A lot to talk about from that point on. But until then, it's your boy, Westside Izzy P in the building from the show about nothing. Do me a favor. Like this video. Let me know what you think. And I'll see you next time.
But it really don't matter, we still let 'em in.